All right, everyone, let's get started. Before we jump into our main topics today, I just wanted to share that we do have our virtual agent and NLU community for content and experts. Check it out to explore best practices and up-to-date content, and feel free to ask questions there and answer questions there to use the experience of others. We've got a bit.ly link up there, very easy to memorize, VA-NLU.com for community. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like or subscribe button. And we do this almost every other week, and you'll get new content not only from us but also from the rest of the ServiceNow community. All right, today our topic is mining your data with AI for compelling virtual agent topics. With me today is Jason Leung, who is Principal Product Manager from ITSM. And as always, I'm Victor Chen. I'm an outbound PM for conversational interfaces. So the goal today, we're going to do a quick overview of our topic, followed by an exercise led by Jason. And then at the end, we'll do questions and answers. If you got questions during the conversation, feel free to type them out in the Q&A portion, not chat, Q&A portion of Zoom, and some folks and I will do our best to answer them. So the purpose of today's call is to answer these questions and these business questions. You know, can I discover what kinds of issues are driving the most ticket creations in my organization? And once I figure that out, can the virtual agent help me automatically resolve them? And the answer to those questions that we're going to go over today is yes and yes. And in order to answer these questions, we're going to share with you two features: intent discovery and topic recommendations, namely topic recommendations being the heart of everything, right? So topic recommendations is available in the Quebec release, and it allows you to use your gold mine of data to help recommend potential virtual agent topics. And this will help you, these virtual agent topics will help you deflect incidents, and it will help you reduce time to resolution. These are two big goals that every organization wants to be able to achieve, right? And with topic recommendations, we use machine learning to basically cluster your incidents into different topics, right? Whether it's VPN issues, reset password, maybe your organization has a lot of software issues or printer issues, right? Well, we figured all that out, and we actually mapped those to out-of-box virtual agent conversation topics that the ITSM organization has delivered out of box, pre-built, right? You don't have to build anything. And it's basically a one-click publish. If topic recommendation says, hey, you have a lot of incidents about VPN connectivity or password reset that could be handled, you can simply select those, click add to VA or add to virtual agent, and it'll automatically be added to virtual agent for you. Not only that, for each of the topics, it can also estimate the time of deflection and the time saved. So it'll know already how much time these incidents have usually, caused for you, and then be able to calculate, okay, if you can automatically deflect these intelligently, this is potentially how much time you'll save. These are the channels the incidents came from that could potentially go down in volume, etc. So definitely, if this sounds like a cool business solution that you want to use for your organization, install the topic recommendations and intent discovery apps in the ServiceNow store today. In terms of licensing, not mentioned on the slide, but a quick note, of course, you're going to need the Pro license here, whether ITSM or HRSD Pro or CSM Pro. Not only does that give you virtual agent, as has been discussed previously, but also all these other cool solutions such as topic recommendations and intent discovery apps. If you've got any questions about this, again, feel free to go into the Q&A and ask away. Otherwise, I'm going to go jump straight to the exercise, and I'm going to hand it off to Jason. Jason, feel free to take it away.
Great. Thanks, Victor. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys might be joining. Really appreciate everyone taking the time today and joining us for this session. So let me just go ahead and share my screen. Many of you, as Victor mentioned, may have heard of topic recommendation, intent discovery. One of the big motivations for us in building this was oftentimes, you as a platform leader of ServiceNow within your organization, you might often know maybe what are the key, 2 or 3 topics or content that you might need to work with your employees. But oftentimes, once you get past that initial, simple cases like password reset, VPN issues, then it's kind of hard to understand what other topics might be worth building to support it for virtual agent. So today I'm going to kind of cover up two main areas. One is just, how do you get started? As Victor mentioned, these applications are in the store today to get, and I'll kind of talk through what are their relationships. And then I'll follow up in terms of just, how do you interact with these tools and how do you run an analysis on your own instances so you can take advantage of not only out of the box content we've built, but also identify what other content gaps that you might have within your organization. So one of the best places to start, if you have not seen this today, is we did introduce a conversational interfaces guided setup. And as part of this guided setup, you can walk through the plugins that need to be activated within your organization. So here, if I go down to the plugins and store apps, I can see there's a few different tasks that I still need completed in order to take full advantage of the ServiceNow Virtual Agent platform. And so if I come in here to look at what plugins I'm looking at, I can see that topic recommendation is something that's identified that I can configure and activate. There's also an ITSM virtual agent conversations. I won't go into the exact details of installing it on this instance, but I wanted to just highlight this is a good place for you to see, all the plugins that you might need to enable to take full advantage of our virtual agent solution. So if you go to the topic recommendation section and click configure, it will take you to the store. And as part of the store application, you'll see that, let me just pull up here. The topic recommendation. And for this topic recommendation application, you will see a Git if you haven't activated this or grab permissions from it. And what this will do is it'll whitelist this application and plugin so that you can then install it on your instance. The other application that I want to mention that Victor alluded to earlier is Intent Discovery. So when you install the virtual agent topic recommendations, one of the applications that will be installed as part of it is the Intent Discovery application. And this one you will see here. And these should come together as Intent Discovery is driving the actual analysis on your instance. And so these will be captured, and topic recommendation will leverage Intent Discovery to drive the topic mappings. So I won't go over the actual full installation, but guided setup is a great place to go and grab that. And then the ITSM virtual agent conversations, this will also be in the store. And this is content that the ITSM team is developing on a monthly basis based on content that we see is important in organizations and based on customer feedback from folks like yourselves on the call. So this ITSM virtual agent conversations can be found in the store as well. It is bundled with a few different applications along with it. Includes our NLU model, as well as some conversations around password management and virtual machine management. And this will continue to update with content that we have available. And that's something that we'll continue to release monthly. Now, just to kind of jump into the actual configuration of this to show you once you've installed that on an instance through the guided setup. What I will show you is if you go under the topic recommendations section, I've gotten something already configured here, like Victor showed, and you'll see that this is an analysis that I had previously ran, and this analysis will show me topics that are mapped to the ITSM content that's been developed and potentially identify any content that that doesn't have a topic that is coming out of the box. So this could be topics that you build content on top of, or you could leverage existing content. So just to show you, this is the main window that you'll see for topic recommendation. When you run a first initial analysis, you will see there's various settings that can be toggled. So when you come here right now, I'm running an analysis on the incident data, and this is triggering it off of the short description. And I have a filter based off of what date range I'm looking at. So in this case, if I go in and look at the filters, this can be changed and modified to meet your organizations. And this is kind of what kicks off that analysis. So in this case, you're going to see I'm looking at incident as the data source. Today, incidents and requests are supported by intent discovery. There will be additional capabilities added on other data tables, but as our initial launch, these are the current data sources that are supported. You can then select what field you want to do the analysis on for topic recommendation. And then here you'll see there's a taxonomy entry, and this is behind the scenes taxonomy that ServiceNow has created and curated and uses it to map to common issues that you see within your organization. Now, lastly, you can run filters. So you can say you're looking for just specific date range of incidents. Could be last 2 years, last 7 days, last 30 days. You could do it based on a smaller subset. And then you can also add different filter conditions, say, based on potentially, who is the open by, or where did this source in terms of where these incidents came from. Maybe either you only want to pull email, you only want to analyze email sources, or self-service content. And these then can run an analysis on this. And then you'll lastly see a frequency. So this frequency will allow you to toggle how often this is ran. So you can set this up to run every month. And every month you can come into topic recommendation and you'll see whether there's new content that's been developed there, or sorry, that has been identified as part of the clusters. I'm going to configure this and update this. I'll pause here for a second just to see if there's any questions on kind of the initial setup. I know just in the interest of time, I didn't want to spend the time activating all the plugins. But Victor, are there any questions that people have before I move on?
We had one question that was addressed. Basically, does topic recommendations work with topics that are scoped to specific apps like HR? And as Jason mentioned earlier, it is currently just the ITSM taxonomy and ITSM related topics. HR will be available later this year with a store release, so stay tuned for that, but currently not now. We have some other questions. What is the minimum incident requirements, or are there perhaps, if I may parse this question, is there a minimum amount of records that can be analyzed with topic recommendations?
Yeah, generally our minimum and recommendation for that is to have 10,000 records for incident analysis. That's generally where we see enough data that's meaningful and can be clustered accurately. Potentially there, you can work with our teams to maybe reduce that, but that's generally our default guidelines that are set up on the system. Good question.
Thanks. Yeah, that's all we've got so far.
Okay, sounds good. And just to kind of show you, you can see that there's a section under the virtual agent. You'll notice that there's topic recommendations as the main app, which you just saw, and then there's the recommendation settings. And these recommendation settings are kind of where you see what I just kind of toggled and configured. So in this case, I have an analysis on my incident records, and then I have an analysis on my request records. And so if I go back into the main topic recommendation app, you will see that I can do an analysis right now on this content, and then, or sorry, on my incidents, or I can run it on my request. It gives you some basic information. So in this case, you'll see that VPN connectivity is something that's been identified that's mapped to an out-of-the-box topic. And if you drill down a little bit more, you can see that there is, the sources that they're contacted from, and also if there's any specific assignment groups that handle the ticket. And if you're a multilingual organization, you'll see the different language breakdowns potentially, if that's seen here as well. What you'll see here is I've already ran topic recommendation on my instance, so you can see that I've added these topics prior in a prior session. One of the things that the adding mechanism does is that it will duplicate the out-of-the-box ITSM, in this case, content, and create a second version of that actual topic, and it will allow you to modify and create it. For these newer ones, you'll see that these are identified ones that I still have not added. So if I come in here, I can select this to be added to the virtual agent. I could also look at additional ones that don't have a topic flow today that I could build topics off of. And so if I come down here and take a look, I see there's a bunch of different issues that have been identified. If I want to go in and say, for example, add this ITSM issues right here, what you're going to see here is that this reset password selection is going to, as I mentioned, duplicate an out-of-the-box topic, because this is something that we have content for, ServiceNow has content for. For the ones that are down here, there is no content that has been built on these. So this is up to you, your organization, to build out that topic flow. But because this has been identified as an intent that is clustered, we will build the NLU intent that ties to this. And so your organization would go through that process of building out what that conversation flow looks like. And so for now, I'll go ahead and click add this to virtual agent. And you'll see in this case, I have a few different options in terms of language. If I have multiple languages activated on my instance, I'll see different models that I can tag to. So in this case, I've got 3 different models that I'm using on this instance, and I'm going to create this new intent in this VA ITSM model. So I'm going to go ahead and click add to VA. And this generally will take a couple of minutes. And so this will, when I go back into the designer, I'll be able to see that this reset password topic has been duplicated. And then I'll also see something around where there is going to be an additional issue software browser intent that exists now in the in my NLU model. So just while this is loading and putting in the record, any additional questions, Victor?
Yeah, we got one question from Anonymous. I'm just trying to parse this question again. Oh, where's the recommendation algorithm run? Is it in the prod instance or a separate machine learning instance?
Yeah, so this is, these are running off of, so the data is going to be housed on your side, but we have machine learning servers in the ServiceNow instance that that the models are ran off of, that use some of that engine. But the models themselves are going to be housed on your instance, but it uses a little bit of combination.
Cool. And another question, what happens if an incident falls in more than one topic? Like how does it get organized in topic recommendations?
Yeah, so usually the weighting is going to be, it's only going to map to, an incident's going to only map to one actual intent, and it generally will just look at that based on a confidence threshold. So if there are 2, it's going to take the one that it has a higher match to. Okay, so these topics have been added. I can then go over to my NLU, just to my NLU model, and I can see that here in this VA ITSM English model that I have created, these intents are now added as part of this. So here I now have this ITSM issues software browser, and if I kind of click into this, you'll see that it does take the utterances from from the short descriptions, and it's a good starting point. Obviously, you probably will want to look at this and tune it just to see what the performance is like, but this gives you a good starting point for it. And then from here, you can then go to the designer and leverage this intent to build a topic. So if I come in here, earlier I mentioned the reset password. You will see that reset password, this is the out-of-the-box content that is shipped as a template. If it is added and duplicated, the recommendation engine will create a reset password recommendation topic. And from here, you can go in and edit this topic as needed. This is an example of where the intent is identified and it matches an out-of-the-box content. So most of this should be pretty good in terms of what needs to be configured. There's probably some of the flows that you will need to modify. For the other example, creating new content in this case, so if we're just to do just kind of a quick test, I won't create this topic all the way through, but so maybe this is software issues browser. You will see that I can select the model that was just created. And as part of this model, you will see the different intents that were identified and can be used. So this is where, if it's an intent that's been identified, but the content doesn't exist, you can go through and build this content here. So, topic recommendation is meant to help your organization find content that can be developed easily by you and kind of surface what are some of the spots that you may not have noticed in helping you develop that content. One thing that might be just worth understanding the relationship really quick is, I didn't get a chance to jump over to it, but the intent discovery is a separate plugin, and it is the engine essentially that drives the clustering analysis on the incidence table, and topic recommendation then will take that data and map it to content that exists and help leverage it within a virtual agent context. Intent discovery is today more focused on virtual agent, but could be used more broadly across your organization to identify where users are kind of doing certain things. So if I go in here to the intent discovery, the running the analysis is very similar to how you would do it in topic recommendation. They're linked together essentially. So when you trigger that analysis in topic recommendation, you're actually kicking it off in intent discovery. So if I go in here to look at something that I ran in June, this is the last incident ran across 15,000 records. You'll see a little bit more of a drill down in terms of the intent, the number of records matched. So this should match also what you see in topic recommendation. And then you'll see the additional breakdowns here. So these tools work hand in hand, and they take, and intent discovery essentially will take, in this case, the ITSM taxonomy and build these clusters that are associated with it. So I know a lot of times folks that are new to it see the two different tools and the relationship isn't always that clear. So hopefully that was helpful, just to cover that. I know we have 5 minutes left. Just wanted to open up and see if there's any additional questions or anything that might be useful to cover as part of this session. I know it's a pretty short amount of time, so.
Yeah, Jason, we have one question from Tyler. Are these recommended topics being created in the global scope or specific, perhaps an ITSM scope?
Yeah, so for these recommended, so if we go back, let me just show you really quick. So if you look at, for example, the password reset recommendation, this one, they are created today in whatever scope that you're currently set up as, but usually this is going to be global currently. But if you see topics that you might need to change into a specific scope of yours, you can certainly always duplicate that as well. But that's a good question. I'll probably double check, and maybe that's a follow-up with the topic recommendation team just to see if that is something that can be configured.
Awesome, thanks. As a reminder, everyone, the recording for this will be uploaded to community site and to YouTube, the ServiceNow community channel, the Virtual Agent Academy playlist later this week. So if you came in the middle, don't worry, you won't miss you won't miss a thing.
Okay.
Awesome. Anything else, Jason? Otherwise, I'll switch over to. I know you have some additional resources for folks, and perhaps a slide just to leave up for more Q&A.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up most of the things I wanted to cover. Maybe just one other thing is if you when topic recommendation supports additional areas, you'll see different tabs for those. So if you had like HR and CSM in the future, those will be options here. The other thing too is if you have requests that you're running, you'll also see those as a separate section here. And lastly, one thing that's worth mentioning is that the recommendations are going to be driving based off of content that is being shipped by the ITSM team. And so my recommendation is always just to check for updates and see if there's a newer version that you can install in your instance to get the latest content.
Awesome. Any updates we should be looking forward to either later this year?
Yeah, we are doing, we're working on a lot of content around software management, software access, software installations. So that's definitely something that we're looking to try to tackle over the next couple of releases. A big focus area of ours.
Very cool. Any other questions? Otherwise, Jason, mind if I grab the share and I can just share some of the additional stuff you had?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Let me go back to here. And as I mentioned here, we do have the documentation. So whether you're looking up more information for topic recommendations or on intent discovery, feel free to check out our documentation. Again, thank you very much. If there are any questions, let me just leave it back to this slide. Keep it up in the chat. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining today. We will, again, the video will be uploaded to YouTube and the Virtual Agent and NAU community sites soon. Please stay tuned. We also have academies for HR, and we have academies for the mobile platform as well. So once again, visit the community site, visit YouTube for all that great content. We are, enabling you as much as we can because we want you to succeed. And that's all I've got. We'll leave the recording on for just a few minutes more, and then we'll sign off. Thank you, everyone.